This is my boat, and all I ask of you is to keep up with me. And if you can't, that strange sensation you're going to feel in the seat of your pants will be my boot in your ass. Good afternoon. I'm Mark England. I'm a junior here at Troy University, and I'd like to give you my briefing on the movie of Crimson Tide. In my opinion, Captain Ramsey, he used the style of leadership that we learned in Chapter 6 from Crawford, Bolton, and Mahan, the influence theories. Captain Ramsey displayed a coercive style of leadership. Captain Ramsey had some benefits of this style of leadership to where he could get the men to do what he wanted them to do, when he wanted them to do it, and how he wanted them to do it. He was not afraid to discipline a person for violating their rules or not following his orders, mostly not following his orders. This was evident when we saw him kind of discipline or chastise Lieutenant Hunter down in the belly of the ship when he called for the drill. Lieutenant Hunter felt like it was not appropriate time based upon the fire that had just taken place, and the situation was still not under control when Captain Ramsey chose to run this drill. Captain Ramsey picked up the intercom and announced to the entire ship the feelings of Lieutenant Hunter, kind of berated him over the air, per se, for the rest of the crew. Captain Ramsey also was able to get the men to do what he asked them to do. His style, the coercive style, is effective for quick results, but it's not a lasting result, as we saw with the men who later became resentful of Captain Ramsey and chose not to follow his orders at all. Now, Lieutenant Hunter, on the other hand, he used the expert leadership style. This was evident when the commander of the boat, COB, Mr. Cobb, heard the orders that Captain Ramsey was given to launch. Lieutenant Hunter questioned the authority to launch based upon the naval guidelines of nuclear warhead launch. And although Mr. Cobb had loyalty to Captain Ramsey, he knew that Mr. Hunter, Lieutenant Commander Hunter, had expert knowledge in the matter. He knew that what Lieutenant Hunter was stating was correct. So in those terms, he went along with the removal of Captain Ramsey as the commander of the boat. Captain Ramsey was delegated to his quarters and later was released by some of the other men. If I had to choose someone to emulate on this movie, I would, probably not the most popular person, I would choose to emulate Captain Ramsey. Although he was able to run his boat with an iron fist, per se, he was able to get these sailors to do what he wanted to do, when he wanted them to do it, no matter what the circumstances was. And in this circumstance, he wanted to launch that nuclear weapon. There were many men on that ship who were going to launch this nuclear weapon. Captain Ramsey redeemed himself in the end. He was able to see the error of his ways, brought aboard in front of the military tribune, where he knew what he was doing was wrong. He knew that his adamancy about launching a nuclear warhead in the presence of that time during the movie, that it could have caused destruction and killed millions of people and possibly started the Third World War, being a nuclear war. Captain Ramsey Dover redeemed himself, like I stated. He saw the errors and he chose to retire as a distinguished naval commander. But prior to his retirement, he also saw the errors of Lieutenant Hunter, but he also saw the good of Lieutenant Hunter. He saw the ethical values that Lieutenant Hunter kept to himself, and he stood firm by. He knew that Lieutenant Hunter would eventually become a great naval commander, and that's when he requested that Lieutenant Hunter be promoted to the rank of captain. So he essentially helped Lieutenant Hunter become a commander of his own ship, his own boat. One of the scenes that displayed followership that we've been studying from Kelly's followership rules was a scene where Lieutenant Hunter went down to the radio station that was trying to be repaired. Obviously, the radio was damaged by the earlier assault from the Russian submarine that during the during the missile assault, torpedo assault on him. The young man was downstairs. He'd been struck in the head and the face. He had an injury to his head. Nothing was going right. He was frazzled. Lieutenant Hunter walked in. He asked him who was in charge of this area. A young man named Bossler stated that he was. Lieutenant Hunter continued to ask him how long was he going to take. Lieutenant Bossler stated he didn't know. He was obviously frazzled. But Bossler at that time, he did not show a great deal of respect for Lieutenant Hunter as far as his responses to him. Lieutenant Hunter then asked him if he knew how important this was. And he stated he did. Lieutenant Hunter told him he didn't believe he did. Lieutenant Hunter went on to tell him that if he does not repair this radio, then billions of people would die. Lieutenant Hunter knew it was a serious, serious situation. Bossler, maybe he did, maybe he didn't. Lieutenant Hunter reiterated that if he did not repair this radio, then billions of people will die, and that he knew it was a quote-unquote shitty situation to be in. Lieutenant Hunter played on something earlier he had saw in the movie with Bossler about Star Trek. He knew Bossler was a big Star Trek fan. He just off the cuff stated, asked him, do you know about Star Trek? Bossler stated, yes. Lieutenant Hunter stated that he was Scotty and that Lieutenant Hunter was Captain Kirk. Bossler related to Lieutenant Hunter in this situation. He felt like Lieutenant Hunter was more on his level, and therefore he decided to follow him. Bossler, according to Kelly's followership, he was an active follower. He had a high level of engagement. He was able to repair the radio system. He assumed ownership of this radio system repair. He assumed that he had to get this repaired and he had to essentially save the world, but he was more so wanting to please Lieutenant Hunter because Lieutenant Hunter related to him on that level. He was an independent and keeping the radio, and he used his innovation to do it. Bossler knew how to interact with Lieutenant Hunter because when he first came in, he used a couple of curse words which could be seen as insubordination as a subordinate to an officer. Lieutenant Hunter was able to overlook this insubordination, and he knew that this gentleman, Mr. Bossler, was going to be a follower who was going to complete the mission that was at hand. So in my opinion, the great scene followership had to do with Mr. Bossler in the radio repair. Thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed the video.